Hello bunny fans, welcome to another episode of the Bunny Coach podcast. I wanted to address something for you guys, something that I hear an awful lot. One of these things that flies around the internet about bonding and things that will help bonding. And it is banana hats, or putting slices or smooshed banana onto your bunnies' heads when you are bonding them in an effort to encourage them to bond with each other and to groom more. This is something that I did do in the very beginning, and what I have found 290 bonds later is that it can be ineffective, and also it can mess with the hierarchy. So I generally do not recommend it, because what you're doing is you are putting banana on the head of both rabbits, and grooming is a large part of them figuring out who is boss, their hierarchy, and also figuring out who is going to do most of the grooming in the relationship going forwards. And you also often see people recommending that you put it on the head of the rabbit that's submissive, because they're supposed to do most of the grooming. But it's not always the case that the submissive rabbit does most of the grooming. Some dominant rabbits do a lot of grooming as well. As well as that, it can be difficult to tell which one is the submissive rabbit. Some pairs of rabbits can send very mixed messages about who is the dominant rabbit, especially in the early stages when you might be tempted to put the banana on their heads. Sometimes it's the case where both rabbits are kind of equal in the hierarchy, so it can be very unclear and you can be put on the wrong rabbit. So if you put bananas on their heads, then it's going against what they're naturally trying to communicate with each other, what they're naturally trying to do to work out their hierarchy with each other. So I tend to find that it can impede the whole process and mess with it, because what you don't want is a rabbit who's never going to do a whole lot of doing grooming in the start because you put banana on their heads, and then later on then there being a communication problem because one rabbit's demanding grooming and the other one won't do it. So it can mess with their hierarchy, but also it can be ineffectual as well. It doesn't always work. They won't groom unless they're really comfortable together and they're relaxed, and they won't groom unless they're sitting close. So it's no good you putting banana on their heads if they're sitting on opposite sides of the pens, for example, because they're not going to groom. And sometimes all they do is just lick the banana off, even if they do it, and then that's it, and you're no better off than you were to begin with. So my advice is don't bother and don't do it, because it's going to upset their hierarchy and their communication with each other. One of the most contentious issues of rabbits when they're bonding is who's going to groom who. And it can cause a lot of scuffles and issues because one rabbit is demanding more grooming than the other rabbit is willing to give, or is willing to give at that particular moment. And this is something that they really need to be able to work out safely themselves without any undue kind of false interference from us. So I hope that helps.
If you're in that situation where this bond just isn't going the way you expected, you don't have to figure it out on your own. You can start by telling me what's going on with your rabbits. I have a couple of free ways to do that with absolutely no obligation. You can answer some questions online and I'll get back to you by email, or we can have a free 15-minute bonding assessment call and talk it through together. And from there, I can recommend the best support pathway for you and your bunnies. There's no obligation to move forward. It's simply a starting point to help you decide if and how you'd like to proceed. But sometimes it really helps just to have somebody who knows what they're talking about, look at your specific rabbits and what's happening, and that can make things a lot clearer and move your rabbits one step closer to living happily together.
And of course, if you already know that you would like ongoing support with your bonding journey or a tailor-made plan or both, you can check out my website, thebunnybondingcoach.com, and see all the options, or simply just drop me a message below.
I'd love to hear from you and help you get your bunnies loved up quicker and with less stress. I hope you found that helpful. Thanks for listening to the Bunny Coach podcast. I look forward to chatting to you next time.